from me, Lauren Jaffe, and welcome to another episode of Derech Eretz. Today we get to know a very special preschooler named Shayna and her project, the Kindness Coupon. Shayna has a rare condition called BPAN disorder, and although her journey has many obstacles, her story is one of inclusivity. Rabbi Asher Feldman explains why inclusivity is so important.
Inclusion, inclusivity is a fundamental principle of Judaism, where every human being is seen as being created in the image of God and therefore worthy of dignity and of respect. When I think of inclusivity in Judaism, I think of the universal message of Judaism to all of humanity, to the entire world, as embodied in the age-old 7 Noahide laws, which according to our tradition were given to the Bnei Noach, the children of Noah, and really seen as guiding principles for all of humanity. These 7 are as follows. Number 1, not to worship idolatry, not to worship any other entity aside from God. Number 2, do not curse God. Number 3, do not murder. This is based on the belief in the inherent value and dignity of every single human being, regardless of who they are. Number 4, do not steal. To respect property rights. Number 5, do not commit adultery or any other sexual impropriety, immorality. This is based on the belief, again, in the respect that men and women, boys and girls, have to have for each other. This is a value which stands up against the gender-based violence. It stands up against any exploitation and any abuse, the respect that every human being deserves. Number 6, do not eat from a limb of a living animal. This reminds us that it is not only human beings that deserve to be respected, but all of God's creatures are included in the command for respect, honor, and dignity. And indeed, this extends also to the environment and to the planet as a whole. And finally, number 7, to establish societies on the rule of law, justice, to set up courts, to make sure that everybody's treated fairly, equally, and that way society can thrive, can prosper. And so the Jewish message is inclusive for every human being, for every culture, for every person, regardless of their physical condition, their way of life, their background, their skin color, their race, their ethnicity. God's message is a message for all. And these values are embodied in the timeless, eternal 7 Noahide laws.
Inclusion is the act of creating environments where individuals and groups of people feel welcomed, valued, supported, and of course respected. Today we chat to the Shishler family. They tell us all about their wonderful daughter Shayna, who has a disorder called BPAN. Now if you're wondering what is BPAN, it's quite a mouthful. It stands for Beta Propeller Protein Associated Neurodegeneration, a disorder that unfortunately breaks down the nervous system. But today we find out all about how Shayna is included in her community and of course in her family. And on top of all of that, how she's changing lives.
I think in life we anticipate good things. We anticipate that you marry, you set up a family, you get a job. You anticipate that life goes relatively smoothly, and nobody's naive enough to think there'll be no bumps along the way. And in our case, it feels like life took a major detour. And the next thing, we're dealing with all kinds of things that we hadn't ever anticipated. Shayna is the first documented case of this condition of BPAN in South Africa, and we believe on the continent, just on our own independent research. So that leaves you very much in the dark as a family. And that was a huge shock and has taken a tremendous amount of adjustment. So I don't think we have shifted yet to a new perspective. I think we're shifting. And we're learning what this means for her, what it means for our family, what it means for us, what it means in a community leadership position. So we're a work in progress at the moment. And that progress is around trying not to be all consumed, trying to find the silver linings, and trying to make it into a meaningful experience, because that's our training, that you don't just have things occur in life. They have meaning, and they create opportunity and learning, and that's what we're trying to find.
One of our biggest, I would say, logos and ethos that we really try and live up to is the school with a neshama being a soul. And the idea being that every single child is an entire world. And it's not simply about teaching a curriculum or ticking off the skills that they can or can't do, but it's about making sure that we are addressing and accepting their entire self, their entire holistic being. And whoever it is, whatever their abilities or whatever their challenges, whatever they are able to do or not able to do is almost irrelevant. It's about being in a space that can help them to grow in every single aspect of their life.
At one point, her therapists spoke to each other, and they decided that we need to put her in a special school. And so we did put her in a special school where she had a lot of therapies, and she didn't really thrive. And then we came to see Leah, and since then, Shayna's been in this school, and she's thrived like we never ever imagined that she would thrive like this.
So Shayna is actually not our first child to be part of our inclusion program. We have quite a few children with special needs who are here in our school, and the idea is the inclusivity that we give not just to them, but the important lessons that the children around them are learning. So while we're here to help support them on their journey and to give them the absolute best education in Judaism and in general, in all of their skills, it's also almost more effective for the children that are around them, because the lessons of inclusivity is very easy for us to talk about. But the best way for a child to really register it and to really take it to heart is by watching us do the same. And having a child with special needs in your class is life-changing for the very best, in the very best way. Having a child with special needs teaches you acceptance. It teaches you that children may look different, may speak different, may act different, and that's okay. We all are children of Hashem. We all are children of God, and we all deserve love and respect and acceptance.
There is a level of kindness and pureness, if I can even put it like that. The kids are so accepting. They love Shayna. They just adore her. It's literally, Shayna's here, and everyone goes to say, hello, Shayna, hello. They absolutely adore her. And she's just brought a light and an energy of pureness into our class.
There's just such a love for every child, and specifically for these children. It's like this school, Torah Academy, is called the school with a neshama, which means the school with a soul. And I really, really believe that they actually can feel when there's a special soul that's arrived at their school, and they treasure that.
I think we put so much value into the actual lessons and the concrete ideas and lesson plans that we have on our plate and that we need to get through. And we forget that all of the things that are happening around us can actually be more of a life lesson for us. Since Shayna joined the school, her actual energy, just simply walking into the school, the energy changes. So often we look back and we say, what did I learn from that person when I experienced being with them? What did they teach me? But the amazing thing about Shayna is that every single day we get to be growing and learning from her in the present. She helps us stay in the present and feel that magic that's happening around us with her there in the moment. We never have to look back and say, what did Shayna teach us? As we're standing there right next to her, we're feeling those cosmic shifts and those lessons that are happening with us.
In society, we use terrible words to refer to people with challenges. And now we use words like disability. But in the BPAN world, and I think a lot of the neurodegenerative conditions, they prefer to use atypical. You have typical children, you have atypical children. And I think it's a brilliant way to refer to them. Because when you see in a so-called typical environment, you see how Shayna behaves and how she gets everybody involved and how she speaks to people without speaking. You see that what's typical for one is not necessarily what is normal. And that's what we'd like people to know, is that Shayna is atypical, and that's her superpower. That is her strength. We look at her as, this is a soul that's too powerful for the body that's trying to contain it. So the soul just gushes out. There is no envy, there is no resentment, resilience, bounces back, kindness, being attuned to what other people are going through. So what I would want people to know is that these individuals that society tends to sideline, they are our teachers.
Children with special needs is something that's very close to my heart. I used to run a program called Friendship Circle. And when Shayna came to the school, it felt like she was filling that part of my soul that only a child with a neshama, with a soul like hers, that is straight connected to Hashem. She is on another level, and that fills me on a different day. When I'm having a hard day, when I've had a difficult meeting, the first thing I go is look, is Shayna still in school? And I just go and have a dance with her. She lets out my energy, but she also fills my soul.
I feel our world has become so polarized, whether it's about vaccinations, anti-vaccinations, whether it's about your political party, whether it's about what you believe about gender equality, whatever it is, the world's become so polarized. And we've got a daughter whose journey in life is all about inclusion, and how they've taken her, despite her differences, and mainstreamed her into an ordinary, typical schooling environment. And in the community, she's a celebrity in her community. That is Derech Eretz.
Today we are going to learn all about this amazing little girl next to me, Shayna Shishler. She's going to teach us a few things about her project, the Kindness Coupon. Shayna, how are you feeling? Are you excited? Are we excited? Yes! Yay!
When we received Shayna's diagnosis initially, it was a knockout punch. It sent us reeling for months. Thank God for the lockdowns, because it gave us the opportunity to escape our communal responsibilities to a large extent, to escape the face-to-face of people asking, how are you? And we didn't really have an answer. So we were very lost for a period of time, just simply trying to digest what had happened. And in April 2021, I took my kids one Sunday to the wilds, and we were walking around, and this family walked past us, and they had these two dogs. And Shayna, without saying a word, somehow communicated to them her love of animals and the fact that she wanted to pet their dogs. So these absolute strangers stopped what they were doing. They took their dogs, brought them right up to Shayna. She sat down, there was like a step. She sat on the step and she started interacting with these dogs. And these people were just standing there watching what was going on. And it was at that moment that it suddenly struck me that she has this magnificent way of eliciting kindness out of people without saying a word. And I'm not even sure that it's unique to her. In fact, I believe these children who have these ultra-rare diseases, children who have special needs, that is why they're here. They're here not for their journey, but for our journey. They're here to bring out the goodness in us. And that was the seed of the moment of this kindness campaign. We had this conversation with our kids, and we proposed this idea, and we sat around the table, and they all shared the same thought, that that's it. That's exactly what it is. So we came up with this idea. How do we turn it into something? We designed a little card, and we called it a kindness coupon. And initially the idea was that anybody who showed kindness to Shayna, she would hand them the card. They'd read the card, and the card says, "Hi, my name is Shayna, And I'm a super rare kid because I have a super rare condition called BPAN. And I can't talk very much, but I'm trying to make the world a kinder place. So thank you for being kind to me today. Would you please pass this on to somebody else? And that's how we started. And we first went to all of her doctors because they obviously are the kindest people in her life. And then over time, you know, we were so lost in the beginning. Now we've built this core of people who are amazing people in her life. And then we launched it at 1 or 2 schools, and now we're starting to launch it at other schools to encourage the kids to pay it forward and start sharing kindness with our people and share it on social media. And so we've made a second card now that says, I'm inspired by a super rare kid called Shayna, that other people can give out. And it's really starting to gain traction, and it's starting to pick up. And it's transformed her from this poor kid who has this ultra rare disease into the celebrity. And I thought, bingo, there we are. We're doing what we've set out to achieve, which is to transform something which is so frightening and something which is so overwhelming for people and turn it into an individual, and please God, in the future, individuals who are ambassadors for a kinder world. And that's what we've called the campaign, A Kinder World Now. And hopefully people get involved, and I think that's why she's here.
The Kindness Coupon is the most amazing campaign. I'm so happy to be part of it. Shayna is the perfect ambassador of kindness in these times when things are really so tough, and we're dealing with Corona, and people are just dealing with a lot of mental issues. I believe to have some light in the darkness, and Shayna definitely, and this campaign is definitely doing that. People are paying it forward. We've had numerous occasions of amazing interactions with people who have really been uplifted by this card.
I think it's really important for people to realize that you see, as is the social media reality, you always see the brighter side of life, of other people's lives. So people look at us and they say, wow, it's so amazing, look what you're doing for Shayna, and she's always smiling and always happy. There is another side of that as well. There are the nights where she can't sleep. There are the times where she has challenges with her breathing. There are the times where she spikes a temperature, and that's what started her seizures originally, so it makes everybody on high alert. There are the times where it's a neurological condition, so she doesn't get to choose her behavior. So there's times where she'll throw things and smash her mom's phone or slap one of the kids across the face. These things happen, and they are so soul-destroying when they happen. Or when you see her contemporaries and the things that they can do that she can't do. There's some very, very difficult moments. So to get that feedback, to have those moments where we watch her bring a smile to a person's face. How somehow, I don't know how she knows, but she intuits exactly who needs it in a crowd, and she beelines for that person and just stands there and smiles at them and melts whatever difficulty they're grappling with at that moment in time. So to see that in action and to get the feedback from people who say, Shayna brightened my day, Shayna brought a smile to so-and-so's face, is this most heartwarming thing ever. And as a family, because you can imagine all of her siblings have a tremendous amount of post-traumatic stress, they have a tremendous amount of anxiety. Nobody knows what the future holds. Nobody can tell us. They've seen things no child should see. They've seen their sister resuscitated by paramedics on the couch in their house. They now have this tremendous sense of pride. I'm Shayna's sister. She's the one who's doing this kindness campaign. She's a celebrity. It's totally reconfigured the reality of our experience, and I think it's going to save us.
It definitely scares me a little bit, but like I'm not embarrassed of her at all. Like I'll walk with her and I'll be fine. Like I won't even register that she has something. I'll just like I treat her like a normal sister, and even though I am still a little bit nervous of like what she's gone through and like what she has, but I still love her for who she is.
Just because she has a rare disease, it doesn't mean that she can't do some things, and she can bring out kindness from people.
She's taught me so much. She's taught me how to love myself, because Shayna loves herself. She claps for herself after she's done a good job. She's taught me how to be kind. She's taught me, like, I can't even put into words the immense lessons that I've learned from her. She's like the wisest soul who doesn't need to speak to teach.
I love Shayna. She makes me laugh. She taught me to be patient. Like, to be patient. If you want to get to know Shayna, just relax. Relax with him. She will teach you everything.
So I think of also a big inspiration in our lives, specifically in the Jewish context, is specifically being part of the Chabad movement. And the Chabad movement took off as a movement internationally under the guidance of the Rebbe who lived in New York, who passed away in 1994. And the Rebbe's attitude to the world had some very key foundational principles like goodness and kindness. You can change the entire world through goodness and kindness. But, point number 2, it doesn't help to speak about goodness and kindness. You actually have to do something practically. So the Rebbe every single Sunday would stand for hours on end distributing dollar bills to people to give to charity, because that's far more effective than preaching or lecturing about charity. And that's what inspired us to get Shayna to give out cards. And the third principle that the Rebbe taught was the value of every single human being, regardless of what background you come from or what particular group you belong to. And that's this concept of Derech Eretz, this concept of, it's a dual meaning word or phrase. Derech Eretz means the way of the world, and Derech Eretz means a sense of treating people well and a sense of giving people dignity. When you understand that the way of the world is not how we live it, we live with too much conflict, we live with too much looking out for the differences in each other. And instead, Derech Eretz is to look for the fact that every one of us is valuable and part of the divine tapestry, and everyone is here to fulfill a purpose of goodness and kindness. That is Derech Eretz. That is the dignity of every single person, which I hope we'll be able to spread and share and alert people to, and create a movement of recognizing the value of every person and being kind to every person.
Well, we've come to the end of the show for this week's episode of Derech Eretz. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so please send us a Facebook message at Derech Eretz Connect. From me, Lauren Jaffe, and the Derech Eretz team, have a beautiful week.